Celine takes the girls to like a warehouse space where she's made a pyre for the fish. Hi guys, it's Sarah. Welcome back to another video here on my channel. Hope you guys are doing well. We are jumping back in once again to season 8 of the Vampire Diaries. I'm dying over you guys' comments so far as we've moved into season 8. Some of you are just like, you understand me so well because this season makes no freaking sense. It's so bad in so many ways, and yet here we are, and I'm gonna keep telling you about it because this is what we've decided to do with our lives. Also, I did want to say thank you guys that have commented on the compilation video I did. So far, I've just dropped season 1. I'm planning on putting those out on Sundays, so they'll just kind of be coming as I get them done. Didn't want to like drop everything at once and have the channel just be like, holy crap, you did 12 uploads in a week. That felt a little insane. Speaking of the channel though, we are growing. I'm so thankful for each of you that are subscribing. You guys have no idea. I know that you've probably heard other YouTubers say it, but it really does help us. Like the more likes we get, the more subscribers we get, it just pushes us out more, and then we're able to like grow our communities. So the algorithm be algorithming, but thank you guys for choosing to stick around. All right, we got a lot to talk about. A lot's gonna happen. We got a funeral, we got a burning cabin, we got sirens. Let's get into the gossip session. We just need to talk. Okay, so we open up with a 750 BC flashback. There's 2 girls laying like on the bank of the ocean. Basically, we can't see a lot. So it's like trees behind them. They're on a shoreline. There's water. They're both really upset looking. They're telling the story of Arcadius. He was this guy from an ancient village who was a psychic. He was the first psychic. So he knew everybody's secrets, and of course, they turned on him. So they burned him at the stake. I guess he was probably also the first like witch burned at the stake. And while he was dying, he was able to realize the evil in the humans around him. The girls explain that in his death, he was able to get revenge on the evil men of the world. And then one day they will get their revenge too. And we zoom out and we realize they're on an island, presumably alone, in the middle of the ocean. Stefan wakes up and explains to Caroline that him and Rick are going to use the tuning fork to get information out of Sybil, because remember, she is like not chained up or anything, but she's locked in a cell at the armory. Georgie shows up, even though Rick told her not to come in, and she's like, why? Do you have a girl tied up in the basement or something? She is so next level suspicious. Rick also calls her a temptress, which they're trying to make siren references as much as they possibly can, but also he's a creep. Damon's at a mechanic shop looking for a guy named Pete. He kills a worker because the worker killed one of his ex-wives, and so Damon is still sending people away to hell for the siren. The boys go after Sybil, but she won't tell them anything, even though the tuning fork is hurting her. Also, the tuning fork messes with the twins, like the Saltzman twins, and that's something that they're trying to figure out, but Sybil's like being really vague and weird about it. She explains though that Damon is still serving her because deep down he must want to. That's like one of the tricks, like you have to be willing, which is why Enzo was able to fight. Sybil then starts telling the story of the little girls on that island. She says that she was a village girl who got cast out, and she ended up like floating on a raft to this island, except she wasn't alone. There was another girl there, so then they like survived together. So yeah, she has a sister somewhere out in the world, and the boys are like, excellent, this is terrible news. Y'all want to guess if it's Georgie or the nanny? I'll give you a second. Just go ahead. Leave your bets down below. We then cut abruptly to Georgie breaking into Rick's house. She steals a journal with the little hell symbol on it, and then Celine catches her and is like, I'm literally gonna call Rick like right now. And Georgie's like, don't do that. And they have like a standoff moment. Pete, the guy who owns the mechanic shop, gets to work, sees his dead like worker on the ground. Damon like barbecued him, or he had him barbecue himself. It was really gross. Damon shows up and is like, surprise, Pete. If you think I'll just kill him for funsies, I'll also kill you for funsies. Don't scream. So Damon compels him, and Pete is like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I have no idea what you're here for. I don't know Sybil. I have no connection to her. Sirens aren't real. What's wrong with you? Are you insane? Damon explains, though, that he's looking for a Maxwell, because that's Pete's last name, family heirloom that Pete may or may not have. And Pete's like, huh, maybe it's in the box of my dead grandma's stuff. Want to come to my house and look? And Damon's like, yes. So they go to do that. Sybil finds out the nanny's name is Celine, and she's like, wow, that's such a siren sounding name, isn't it? Except she's like being really freaking suspicious about it. So we can't tell at this point if it's Georgie or Celine. It's back and forth, back and forth. They won't let us figure it out. She tells him about how they were starving on the island, so they started calling out to ships to get the sailors to save them, except the island was surrounded by really sharp reefs. So the sailors kept crashing, and then their provisions would wash up on the shore, and the girls survived off of those. But it means they were killing a lot of people all the time. Sybil says she didn't want to kill, but her sister enjoyed it. Then she draws parallels between the two sisters and Damon and Stefan, and she's like, which one are you, Stefan? Damon and Pete are in the garage now looking for the heirloom. Damon suddenly notices his watch and takes it, but his watch has vervain in it. So he's like, Pete, you lied to me. You weren't compelled earlier. And Pete's like, compelled? What do you mean? My son gave me that watch. He told me to wear it, so I've been wearing it. What are you talking about? So Damon is like, sorry, you're a liar, Pete. You gotta go. And he stabs him. And then freaking Matt Donovan shows up in the garage, shoots Damon in the back, and like knocks him out. And then he looks over at Pete and goes, oh no, Dad. This is actually like 10 out of 10 reveal, because Pete and Matt, as you can see, look like father and son. But until it happens, you're like there's no warning, because his name is Maxwell and Matt's name is Donovan. So we had no idea. Damon's knocked out, but Matt makes Pete drink Damon's blood so that he can be healed. Then he sends his dad away because he's going to torture Damon to find out why he was attacking him. Celine calls Rick and is like, hey man, the sexy like intern girl that you like so much, she broke into the house and stole a journal. Is that normal behavior for her? Rick then sees Georgie in the armory and he's like, Celine, I gotta go. Keep watch on my kids, okay? He hangs up, he follows Georgie, and she tricks him and locks him into the vault. Stefan's playing good cop with Sybil and saying that they don't have to be enemies and they don't have to fight. And she's like, oh my God, just shut up and listen to my story. She keeps telling him about how the good sister believed that God would provide for them. So she convinced the evil sister that wanted to kill the sailors to not do that. But then the island was pretty much barren, so God wasn't providing. So the good sister's faith was like shaking. So the second, evil sister hunted wild boar and was like, surprise, surprise, God did provide. Yay, all is well. Except no. She was bringing back like butchered dead sailor bodies. Yeah, there were never any provisions. They'd been eating people the whole time. There's clearly a lot of tension between the sisters in the story, and Stefan is pushing back on that, saying that they aren't like him and Damon because anything that's happened between them has been forgiven. He even says that like there's nothing Damon could do that would ever make him hate him completely, and Celine is like, I think you're overestimating your sibling, and I've clearly underestimated mine. And then Georgie shows up in the hallway and freaking vervains Stefan to get Sybil out. Stefan wakes up outside at the falls, and he's like, how did I get here? What's going on? It's actually just Sybil screwing with him, and it's not the falls. It's the island that the sisters were on. She was gonna like scramble his brain and kill him, but she says the boss has other plans and thinks that he deserves to know the whole truth. So she takes him to a cave where the evil sister was hiding the bodies after they'd been butchered. And so she explains that like for years, they were secretly cannibals and the good sister had no idea. And then finally she like found the cave and then hid in the cave waiting for the bad sister to show up to like know for sure if that's what was happening. And she says, I wish you could have seen the look on her face. Oh wait, you can. And freaking Celine walks into the cave. So Sybil is the good sister, Celine is the evil sister, and Georgie is not a siren. Sybil then says that she tried to be good because this whole time he thought she was the evil sister, but no, turns out she is the one that was not willingly a cannibal. And then she turns to Stefan and basically implies that he is the evil brother, which is what I have been saying this whole time. Meanwhile, Matt is torturing Damon in the garage, but Damon flipped his switch. So he doesn't care, and he's not scared, and nothing is working. Matt is like, you know, you need to really care about this more, because I will kill you, okay? All I want to know is why you went after my dad. What's going on? Damon's like, oh, you don't want to play games with me, Matt? Even if I tell you that I ripped out Tyler's throat and then locked him in the trunk of a car and left him at this very specific location that you would have to leave me here to go to, would you not want to play then? Are you sure? What if I'm lying? What if I'm not lying though? And what if Tyler's bleeding out in the trunk of a car somewhere? Matt is like, there's no way that you would actually kill Tyler. Like, no one would forgive you. Elena would never forgive you. And Damon is like, oh, haven't you heard? I'm done with Elena. She and I are over. I have a new girlfriend now. Matt hits him again and says that if Tyler is dead, Matt's gonna like kill him with his bare hands. And Damon's like, okay. Rick is trapped in the vault and he can't get to the secret room to get out because he can't block out his hearing and his sight. He can just blindfold himself. So he records a voice message to Caroline and Stefan so that he can talk to us in this scene, and then digs in his ear with the knife that he has, saying that vampire blood will heal him, hopefully. We then cut to Celine with the kids now that we know she's the evil sister, and she is tucking the twins into bed and tells them a bedtime story about Arcadius. While she's with them, Georgie calls and is like, hey, I locked Rick in the vault like you asked me to. Why did I do that? And Celine tells her to just pull over and wait and they'll talk soon. Damon wakes up in the garage again. He ends up knocking the iron shelves down on himself so that he can like bust the chair he's in and get out of his chains. He finds the heirloom, which is like a weird cannonball looking thing with like an ornate M carved in it for Maxwell. Stefan asks Sybil to just please let him go. She laughs and says, sure, I can do that, but you're not going to even remember this when you wake up. Then he wakes up in the hallway and he says he remembers the story of the two sisters, but he no longer has memory of who the second siren is. She wants to tell him how to save Damon, but she's like, first you have to tell me which sister you are. And he says he's both, victim and monster. Okay, sure. She tells him she was wrong about him. He is worthy, so she can tell him the truth. That is that Sybil, once she found out they were secretly cannibals, she threw herself off the cliff so she would die to like atone for her sins. Obviously, Celine found her and was like, oh my god, no, this can't happen. I don't want to be alone on the island. My sister, Cade showed up. He offered to save Sybil, saying that there would be a price to pay, and Celine agreed before like asking Sybil if it was okay. So they're immortal, but they have to eat people and stay cannibals in order to stay pretty. And Cade, in turn, collects the souls of the people they eat to keep them in hell. So if Stefan kills Cade, then Damon will be free. But Stefan is like, hell, the devil, this stuff doesn't exist. Like, you're just making things up. And she's like, I'm sorry, but y'all have werewolves and vampires? And like, you don't believe the devil could be real. She explains that Cade basically created hell when he died as like a realm for himself, for him to like continue existing in. So it's not really like biblical hell or like the biblical devil. It's just like a devil figure. She warns him that he is technically gonna go to hell too, so he should just stop fighting it. And he says that he deserves it, but Damon doesn't, because he always is willing to be like, we made Damon the way he is, and his choices are because of our actions, and blah, blah, blah. Rick then climbs out of a sewer grate from the tunnel system, like in front of the clock tower in Mystic Falls, which the armory is not anywhere near there. Matt and his dad are in the truck catching up on the whole like vampires are real nonsense, and Pete's mind is blown. He says a glass of vervain every day keeps the vampires away, which is a thing that his grandma used to say when she made tea. So that's suspicious. It's funny that like they still managed to find a way to connect Matt's family to the vampire lore, because remember, the Donovans aren't founders. So this whole time he's been like left out of that group. But now it's like, oh no, the Maxwells though, they were important. Matt then finds Tyler dead in the back of a trunk. It's awful. He has a complete breakdown. His dad like sits there and holds him and they just cry. It's so sad. Also, we have to also look at Tyler's dead body, which is not fun for anybody. Celine meets with Georgie, and Georgie's like, I did what you said, but your sister wouldn't come with me because she said, and I quote, piss off, I don't need your help. And Celine is like, oh, that's so annoying. Also, remember when you killed your friend in that car accident? Haha, you're a murderer, enjoy hell. And then she freaking kills Georgie. But then Georgie wakes up and you're like, wait, what's happening? Is she supernatural? What's going on? Does she escape death every time? What's going on? What is this? Except no, she's just a ghost. So she turns around and sees Celine eating her dead body like in the middle of the street in the neighborhood. And then Georgie gets swept away on that like weird scary wind thing that we haven't seen in way too long. It's time for Tyler's funeral. Everybody get ready to cry. Stefan and Caroline are making breakfast when the phone rings and it's Matt. Enzo is tied up on the floor of the cabin, like literally like bound up on the floor. Bonnie is sitting on the couch when the phone rings and it's Matt. Rick's having a tea party with the girls when the phone rings and it's Matt. The phone tree thing is really painfully effective, okay? It's really sad. It's like a long drawn out opening scene. It's super effective. We then cut to them all sitting together, kind of going over it and like adjusting to the fact that Tyler is dead. Kind of awkward after everything Matt did, but like they're coming together because their friend is gone. We get Rick writing to Elena to update her, and he's like, I don't even know where to begin. Celine shows up and tells him she's happy to watch the kids for the day because she heard that their friend is gone and she knows he probably needs time to mourn. She admits to having a sister in this moment, but says they're estranged. Then she goes to the girls, but now she's being all evil and nasty and like sneakily like glaring at Rick over his shoulder. Stefan is smashing bottles in the living room. Caroline's feeling really guilty about how she hasn't talked to Tyler in months. Stefan's trying to figure out what to do with Damon now, and Caroline's like, I think the best thing to do is just mourn Tyler with the rest of us. Bonnie's trying to mourn, but Enzo's being really difficult over in the corner. He says her grief is making her even more beautiful, and if she'll just let him out, he'll take her away somewhere. They can go anywhere she wants. He's lying, and like lying Enzo is so scary because there's an element of it where you're like, is he telling the truth? I don't like this. Like he's clearly lying, but also you could trust him, maybe. Bonnie cuts him free and he holds her face for a second before running away, except she is using a secret candle because her magic is not back yet. So she took an artifact from the armory and it's a candle that like spells the cabin so Enzo can't get out, and she's the only one who can put the candle out. She tells him they may have lost Tyler, but she will not be losing him. Sybil's doing yoga in her cell. Rick shows up and bangs the tuning fork to ruin her day. He wants to know where Georgie is because he thinks that she's the second siren still. Also, he set up an intercom system and he's leaving Dorian in charge of banging the tuning fork like once every hour so that they can like keep Sybil from having her powers. Stefan, Matt, Caroline, and Rick carry Tyler's coffin to a grave. When they get there, though, there are 4 empty graves like dug, and Damon is there waiting for them. Stefan breaks a shovel over his knee and threatens Damon. Damon's like, brother, just go ahead and pick a grave. I'm gonna bury all 4 of you. Matt draws his gun, and then Damon grabs him by the throat and threatens Matt, and everybody's like, don't do this, Damon. And he's like, what? Don't do this? And he force feeds Matt his blood so that, like, if he kills him, he'll come back as a vampire, which is Matt's nightmare, as we know. Rick is really spooked by how unhinged Damon has become, because remember, up until this point, Rick's kind of been the one that's like, I think we could get him back. I think if we try hard enough, which is weird because just a few episodes ago in season 7, he was like, I never want to see you again. I like my life without you. Leave me alone. Caroline tells him to leave because nobody wants him there, and Damon's like, okay, good, excellent, I've cut my ties. Because remember, that was like one of the last things Sybil told him to do, so he was still trying to just follow her orders. Caroline then calls Bonnie and fills her in on the Damon situation and how terrible he's being. Bonnie says Enzo is resisting flipping his switch like crazy. She has tried everything. She has starved him. She's tortured him. She's tried to just like shove their memories down his throat, and he's not having any of it. Caroline explains that she turned her switch back on because she faced her biggest fear and like overcame it. And that was basically like accepting how much her mom had loved her and knowing like she messed up in the end, but also she did deserve to be loved that much anyway. Enzo shows up again in the doorway because he can't get out. She's like sitting on the porch, and he says that no humanity Enzo is so much more fun than Enzo with his humanity on, because Enzo with his humanity on is boring and lame. He does end up convincing her to go to Tyler's funeral though, to see her friends, because he says like it's really cold that she didn't leave to go be with them. Rick, once again, like I said, is trying to convince the others that like Damon's still in there somewhere and they shouldn't give up on him. And Stefan is like, haha, very funny. We need to put him down. Okay, we need to put him down because that's the only way that any of us are ever going to be safe. Damon goes to see Sybil in her cell looking for answers. She explains that he clearly felt pain when he killed Tyler and he regretted it a little bit, which means he's not fully under Sybil's control. She tricks him by being like, if you turn your humanity back on and give up, then you're gonna like suffer more because it's gonna hurt so bad and there's no way you can be forgiven and you're still gonna go to hell. So why don't you just give up and give yourself over to me completely and be my little slave boy, and that'll be more fun. Matt is boxing up Tyler's stuff already, even though it's only been like a day or so, because he, and I quote, is an expert at loss. And he's really shitty to Pete about it, because remember, the reason why Pete wasn't in his life is because Pete left. His dad is sticking around though this time and like trying to help. He then goes through a box from the armory from Tyler, and Tyler left like a letter to him and everything explaining the research he was currently doing, and that was looking for the second siren named Celine. Rick explains to Dorian about the weird tunnel system situation and how, like I said, the armory's over here, Mystic Falls is way the frick over here, but somehow there's like a 7-mile stretch directly through the mountains connecting them. So they need to figure out who made it because it's really old. They also file a missing person report at this point on Georgie because she's gone and nobody knows where she is. Celine took the girls to the carnival. She convinces one of the dudes working behind one of the game counters to give them a fish even though they didn't win, except the fish is dead. And she's like, it's okay girls, I have a secret plan for what we're gonna do with it, okay? And those little freaky siphon twins are like, yeah, okay, Miss Celine, that sounds fun, woo, dead fish. Stefan finds out that Damon's going to the carnival and insists on going alone to put him down. Even though Caroline wants to come with him, he's like, I need to do this by myself because I don't want anybody else to get hurt. Enzo's getting drunk at the cabin when Bonnie comes home. He's put up the lights and he's playing the song that they first danced to because he's really being a jerk. She explains she knows what she's gonna do now. She's gonna use his biggest fear to convince him to come back to her. And then she starts pouring gasoline all over the cabin, including in front of the front door. He's like, oh, you think because one time I was in a cage while a room was on fire, that's my biggest fear? Sure. She's like, oh no, honey, it's not the fire. It's the fear of being abandoned. She literally looks him in the eyeballs and goes, I would rather burn alive than abandon you. And then she lights the room on fire. Is that not incredible? Queen behavior. Stefan gets to the carnival to see that there's been a gas leak and everybody's being evacuated. Damon's waiting for him and he explains that he needs help. He's conflicted because on one hand he wants to serve Sybil and stay away from hell, but also he's afraid to turn his humanity switch back on, even though he also kind of wants to do that because he knows it's gonna hurt. Stefan's like, brother, if we can't feel, what's the point of being alive? And Damon is like, exactly, you get it. What is the point? Stefan begs him to come home and he's like, let us love you. Let me show you how to be happy again. We can help you. Please just let us try. Damon's like, bro, I have literally ruined everything. No one's ever gonna forgive me. How am I ever gonna be happy again? Stefan says, I am your brother and I love you. Just come home. Damon says no. So Stefan tries to shoot him with Vervain, but Damon catches it and then they're gonna get into a fight, but thankfully, Caroline Forbes shows up and she shoots Damon in the back with 3 different Vervain vials, so he goes to sleep. Bonnie is now choking because the cabin is on fire and there's a lot of smoke. Enzo's just standing in front of her, finishing his champagne, not bothered at all. She holds him and just keeps saying, I'm not leaving you. I'm not leaving you, over and over again as she starts to cough and pass out. He is fighting it and just like staring at her completely unaffected, like unbothered, no thoughts in his little head. She passes out from the smoke and like collapses down onto the ground. And finally he's like, oh my God, the room's on fire. oh my God, Bonnie, no. And he's like, Bonnie, wake up, Bonnie, please. And he picks her up and like cradles her to his chest and he's crying. We see the moment where like his switch flips back on and he's back. But yeah, the room's on fire. So Celine takes the girls to like a warehouse space where she's made a pyre for the fish. She explains to the girls how special people's souls go directly to Cade when they die. She draws out the hell symbol and then lets the girls siphon from her so that they can use the Incendia spell to light the pyre on fire for the fish. Except, yeah, they're definitely burning Georgie's body. So Bonnie wakes up outside, like in the grass in front of the cabin once she can breathe again. So I guess that implies that Enzo literally like threw her out the front door. But yeah, now he's trapped in the doorway of the front door, like choking, because the fire's getting so bad that even he's affected now. He tells her, it's my time. You love me more than anyone, and that's enough. But she's like, no, absolutely not. And so she sprints back inside, quickly puts the candle out, and he's like, Bonnie! And he grabs her and they run outside again. He's just holding her and he can't stop apologizing and he's like, I almost killed you. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. But she's like, no, it's okay. Stop. We're okay. Look at me. I'm fine. We're gonna be okay now. She tells him that he's stuck with her forever because she's never leaving him. They kiss and it's one of my favorite scenes, like top 3 favorite scenes in the whole freaking show. They both look so lovely and the lighting from the fire is just like making both of them glow. Everything's like warm and orange toned. It's so good. It will be so hard for me to ever do a ranking of these damn episodes because I want to put all the Bonnie episodes together. But season 8 sucks. Stefan chains Damon up, locks him in a coffin, and says he's sorry. Dorian gets a call that Georgie is dead because he's somehow her emergency contact, so he rushes away to go help with that, but then leaves the tuning fork behind and doesn't use it on Sybil anymore. So she's full strength now, I guess, and she puts her hand on the window of the cell and starts cracking it with her magic, but also like someone's voice like echoes back to her, and I don't know if it's supposed to be like her voice doing something weird or if there's like it's supposed to be like a weird higher power siren entity. I don't know how that works. I don't know what it's supposed to mean yet. I don't remember because season 8 sucks. But the window explodes and Sybil gets out and she takes the tuning fork with her. Stefan holds a second funeral for Tyler, this time at the carnival. Everyone says sweet things about him. It feels like slightly more forced just because we haven't seen Tyler in so long. So there's not like new memories to talk about, but it is really sweet when Matt talks about him because obviously they've been best friends the whole time. Stefan says they don't know what's coming, but the most important thing is that they can't forget about each other. Again, kind of implying that like they forgot about Tyler, and that's kind of why it doesn't hit emotionally for me. He tells them, though, the story about bringing Elena to the Ferris wheel and how he told her to focus on the special moments. And then he, like, lights up the carnival, even though they're the only ones there, and basically says they need to remember how to live and be happy. Rick finishes writing to Elena and says that he misses her, and especially today, on such a bad day, they wish she could have been there with them, but he thinks that she would be proud of the way they handled it. Stefan thanks Caroline for helping him even after he told her not to. She says she's going to be his wife, and that means protecting him and saving him whenever he needs her to. She tells him that the last time they were at the carnival, she was struggling because she was a new vampire, and he told her that all she had to do was remember every day that she was strong enough, so now she is going to remind him of that whenever he needs her to. Rick calls Celine to check on her and the girls, and we can see her going through the bank records in the garage, so that's good. She says the girls are working on an arts and crafts project before bed. We cut to Sybil having a gravedigger break Damon out of the coffin. He says that now he knows that feelings make him weak and he's done with them. He agrees to go with her, saying he's all hers now, and then she feeds him the gravedigger. Caroline tells Matt that she's happy he's home again despite everything, that happened between them. She shows him some pictures of the girls. He sees Celine with them, and he's like, whoa, 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 hold on. So Rick and Caroline race home, but Celine and the girls are gone. The arts and craft project they were working on is a freaking kid drawing of Cade, Celine, Lizzie, and Josie. Oh my God. So Rick and Caroline call the cops to get them to go after the girls to help find them. Celine answers a call from Rick to tell him that the girls are safe with her, but she can't bring them back because she needs to save them. He tells her to just stop talking. He doesn't care about her plans, but he's going to find her, and when he does, he's going to kill her. It's very much giving like that scene from Taken, where it's like, whoever you are, wherever you go, I will find you. He's like, you've been in my home, and yet you still missed how far I'm willing to go for my kids? I'm not coming for you. I'm coming for them. But the longer you run, the more I'm going to hurt you. When I tell you, she's like shitting her pants. Like, she's scared. And then Sybil shows up and sits down at the table with Celine and the girls. Also, Damon is there. Bonnie and Enzo wake up in bed together. I think they're back at her house now. Yes, because she makes a joke about him thinking her like high school bedroom is hot, which is, why do we have to make those jokes? It's enough. Caroline calls Bonnie, and then Damon calls Enzo, except when he answers, it's Sybil, and she like does a weird psychic attack on him with her voice. Stefan wants to come help with the kids, and Caroline's like, actually, no. No, sit down, you're staying with Matt. She gives back the ring and basically says that like Damon is with them, and if Damon gets in her way, she will kill him. So she can't be with Stefan right now because she doesn't want any distractions to like keep her from getting her children back. Which is fair, but also really awkward because Rick comes back in and is like, hey, we have a lead. We gotta go. And he can see Stefan like holding the ring in his hand. At the diner, things are equally terrible. Sybil's really mad at Celine because she was locked in the vault for like a really long time, even after Celine got out. But Celine is like, girl, I was working on it. Also, why do you think I want the twins? I'm planning to offer them to Cade so we can be free of our bargain. Bonnie brings Enzo to Matt and Stefan, being like, somebody please help me. He is losing his mind, because at this point, Enzo's like, in and out of consciousness, like screaming, crying, throwing up from the pain. Stefan agrees to go inside Enzo's head because he's hopeful maybe he can like get Sybil out or like break the connection somehow. We get some horrible moments of seeing what Enzo is seeing in his head, and it's basically like Sybil with him tied up on the torture table from Augustine, and she's playing with him and like messing with him, but she's not even trying to get him back or anything. She's just mad that he escaped, so she's torturing him for fun, basically, to punish him. Thankfully, though, Stefan sees the correct diner where the girls are at with Celine. At the diner, an Amber Alert comes out on all the phones, and everybody's like, oh shit, they're like sitting right there. So Celine very quickly has to use her siren magic on like the whole room. Rick and Caroline, meanwhile, are like racing from diner to diner because they don't know the exact one they're at. Stefan just knew like the area. They get to the right one, but everyone is gone. Stefan is starting to get worried that him like going into Enzo's head to try to help is actually making it worse. And Rick is like, screw you, do whatever you need to do, turn his brain into oatmeal if it means getting my kids back. Celine explains to Damon the criteria you have to meet in order to work for Cade. You have to be supernatural and you have to go to him willingly. So she's basically planning on like slowly but surely brainwashing the girls until they're old enough to take the siren's place. They get stopped at a roadblock, and then she's able to use her powers to trick the cop into thinking the back of the car is empty, but then Lizzie has a freak out, grabs Sybil and like siphons her slightly so that Sybil's arm like reverts back to like demon form. When the cop comes back and sees the girls, Sybil obviously kills him. Damon ends up driving, so I guess that implies that Celine and Sybil maybe dragged him away and killed him together. I don't know. Damon ends up in the driver's seat now, and he takes them to like a sketchy motel filled with like sketchy people. He wants to go ahead and just call Cade now because he has a better idea that will help all of them. Celine doesn't trust him, but Sybil's like, ooh, absolutely delicious. I love a change of plans. Stefan thankfully admits to Bonnie that messing with Enzo's head might be hurting him, and he doesn't know what to do because he's conflicted, but she tells him to just do it and be as careful as he can. Rick and Caroline are right behind the girls, and he's starting to get like more and more aggressive as the episode goes on, and they haven't found them yet. At the hotel, Sybil warns Damon that whatever he's planning, you know, she's ready to hear it, but he needs to make sure that he doesn't make Cade feel used or taken advantage of. She then admits that she was sort of tricked into the bargain because she was dying, so like she didn't want to be an immortal cannibal forever, but also she wanted to live, so she did agree to it it, but it was like extenuating circumstances. He trusts her enough that he's like, I'm gonna tell you my secret plan. And she's like, ooh, go ahead, I can multitask, because she's still half in Enzo's head torturing him. Inside his mind, again, we see that he's begging her to just tell him where the kids are and then just go ahead and kill him. And she's like, oh, sweetie, I'm already killing you, because at this point, like, his brain is melting and he's starting to bleed from his nose and his eyes and stuff. It's getting worse and worse. Stefan, though, bursts into the room they're in and catches her and like stops her from hurting Enzo. She says if Stefan will come to where they are alone and listen to Damon's offer, she'll let Enzo go. Bonnie is waiting for Enzo to wake up. She is so distraught because they keep getting like so close to happiness and peace, and then it just keeps getting ripped away from them. And I'm so sorry, Miss Bennett, but it is gonna keep happening. Matt assures her that she's not gonna lose Enzo because he's a tough bastard, okay? And he already broke out of Sybil's hold once. He can do it again. Enzo whispers from the couch between them, I'm not sure which one of you to kiss first. And then Bonnie just throws herself into his arms and Matt's just sitting there smiling at them. Rick and Caroline get to the hotel Stefan told them to go to, but it's the wrong hotel. Meanwhile, Stefan pulls up to the real one, but it's also kind of weirdly quiet and deserted. Rick blows up at Caroline. He says that when they get back to town with the girls, he's taking them away from all of the vampires because darkness follows all of them, and he means Caroline too. He says my kids should never have been involved in this life from the beginning. She says, our kids? And he goes, no, Caroline, my kids. They're my kids. Mine and Joe's. You. Celine has the twins light the pool on fire at the sketchy hotel. Sybil sirened the guests to like attack Stefan because she wants him killing people so he's vulnerable and scared and like really dark. We cut to Stefan like massacring the guests in the hallway to get to wherever Damon is. Damon catches him though and realizes that Stefan hasn't actually been killing anybody. He's just been like aggressively knocking them out. Kate isn't answering and Celine's kind of freaking out, but then all of a sudden the pool fire goes out and he does show up. He's a handsome man in a beautiful gray suit, okay? But he's so evil. After getting wrecked by the people in the hallway, Stefan is fighting like the very last guy. He does end up killing him to save himself, but he's really upset about it. Damon is like, bro, don't feel bad, okay? You don't need to feel guilty anymore. I have a get out of jail free card for both of us. He agrees to take Stefan to see the girls, but only if Stefan agrees to his terms. Do you see where this is going? Cade is toying with Celine and Sybil, but he does say he's intrigued by the plan to take the twins. Sybil steps in and is like, up, I have an even better deal. And she pitches the idea of giving him 2 immortal vampire brothers instead of the little tiny baby twins. Stefan runs in saying, yes, I agree, as long as you let the girls go. Rick and Caroline show up to where the girls are. They each hold one of them, and then Stefan comes out and he just looks so upset. Enzo is awake now and feeling better, but once again, Bonnie is having a really hard time trusting it because everything keeps going wrong. She tells him she appreciates how hard he fought to come back to her, and he says he always will. He explains to her that the reason why he's always been so good at like resisting torture and surviving is because this whole time, like his whole life from before he was immortal and everything, he's always felt like the higher power, I think he says God, I think Enzo is slightly religious, but he says that whoever's in charge, like he knew that they weren't gonna let him suffer and suffer and suffer and never fall in love. So literally, the idea of finding Bonnie one day and falling in love with her and experiencing true love is what kept him going all these years. She's like, oh, are you calling me an angel? And he goes, Bonnie Bennett, you're the entire world. Oh my God. Rick is having the armory doctors look at the girls to make sure they're okay before he takes them home in the morning. He apologizes to Caroline for being terrible, but she says he's right. You know, genetically, the girls are Joe's, but Caroline is the one that gave birth to them and raised them and loved them. And she was just as upset as Rick was when they disappeared. So he better not ever throw it in her face again. He's like, you're right, I'm sorry. But then she says that he was also right, and for whatever reason, darkness is following her right now, So the girls do need to go with him far away where they can't see Caroline anymore. Stefan is sitting outside the armory holding the ring. Caroline comes to him and says what she did to him wasn't fair. She says they're partners and they need to make these kind of decisions together. She puts the ring back on and tells him that she loves him. Also, though, she has a really bad feeling about what he had to do to get the girls back. He takes her hand and tells her that he gave Damon what Damon had promised him, which is an eternity of misery. He explains he agreed to give his soul to Cade and basically kill people for Cade to have in hell forever. She's like, no, there's gotta be a way out. You promised me a June wedding, okay? Well, what the heck? Our day is supposed to be in June. No. And he's like, I'm so sorry, honey, but our day is gonna have to be tomorrow because part of my negotiation was saying that I could spend my last 24 hours with you. So they're gonna get married the next day. Celine is really mad at Sybil for not telling her about that new deal to trade the boys instead. Sybil says it was a lot of fun to watch Celine embarrass herself. Also, Sybil cut Celine out of the agreement. So I think that that means that Celine still works with Cade, or at least Celine is still gonna go to hell one day, but Sybil isn't. She says she negotiated like keeping her powers and her immortality. So something's funky. She even says like the games aren't over yet. So we cut to Matt and Rick says he's starting to believe that Matt is one of the only sane voices amongst them. Matt is like, yeah, but you know, dude, I can only take seeing my friends suffer so much. Sometimes it just makes me want to fight back. Then we see Damon at the grill getting drunk. He gets shot in the back by Matt, and then when he turns on Matt, Rick shows up and also shoots him in the back. Rick says to him, glad you're here. I've been wanting to kill somebody all day. Then he just like full on attacks Damon. He says he can't have the girls in danger, and as long as Damon is alive, they will be. Damon is like, dude, your timing is hilarious. I just made the deal of a lifetime. Well, the deal of several lifetimes, hopefully. But Rick is like in a blind rage, and he just starts like pounding Damon's face. It gets to a point where Matt has to stop him and be like, Rick, he's had enough, stop. Rick says, this is for Tyler, and then stakes Damon in the heart. And if you know what's coming in Legacies, I wish Rick wasn't the one to say it, because I forgot that he says this, and it makes what he does in Legacies just like this much less effective for me now, because that moment is so important to me, and y'all are gonna be shocked that I love it as much as I do when we get to it, okay? But I do love it. I wish Matt had said it though. I wish Rick had the stake and Matt had said this is for Tyler. Anyway, Rick brings the stake down, freaking stabs Damon in the heart, and we just watch as Damon slowly desiccates and dies. But I mean, I think you can see where this is going. So is anybody even upset right now? It's not even really a cliffhanger. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's gossip session. If you did, don't forget to like the video and comment down below. I love talking to you guys each week. As always, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you so soon. Have a good one. Bye!